Hello, Night Wanderer, and welcome back to Before Bedtime Story. Tonight, let's put aside the typical ghost stories. We're traveling to Dusseldorf, Germany. A sleek, modern, and expensive city, famous for its luxurious shopping street, Königsallee, a place that screams wealth and style, but tucked away on one corner. There's a house that screams something else entirely. This story is real. It belongs to an American exchange student named Ethan. Ethan arrived in Dusseldorf in 2018 for his study abroad program. Like any student in that pricey city, he was desperate for cheap rent. Miraculously, he found an ad for an old house on Königsallee, the Co, with rent that was unbelievably low. A bargain, or so he thought. The house itself, it stood out, a decaying gray building from the 19th century, looking crushed between glass and steel modern structures. The windows were always draped shut, and no one was ever seen going in or out. Locals simply call it Das Haus des Flirtens, the house of whisper. When Ethan met the real estate agent, an old woman with cold eyes, she gave him one chilling warning. This house is a bit heavy, and young men never attempt to go down to the cellar. Ethan, too excited about the price, just nodded. The moment he stepped inside, Ethan felt something strange. The air wasn't just cold, it was dense, as if a heavy pressure was constantly pushing against his chest. The parquet floorboards cracked under his weight, breaking a suffocating silence. And the smell, unancient. Musty odor mixed faintly with the sweet, sickening smell of rotting dry flowers. The true haunting began on the third night. It was 2 a.m., Ethan was working on his laptop when from the darkness upstairs hallway, he heard a sound. Not footstep, not something fallen, but the very soft, mournful sound of a piano, a classical melody, broken, sad, and barely audible. Ethan was certain there was no piano in the house. He held his breath. Turning off his desk lamp, the music stopped. Then a new sound came, much closer, right outside his door. The laughter of a small child, a joyful sound yet somehow empty and echoing. Ethan's heart hammered against his rib. He yelled out, "Who's there? Where is that?" No answer. Only the silence that returned, but now it felt like a thick sheet of ice had encased the room. Ethan eventually sought Herr Muller, his kind next-door neighbor, for the house history. Herr Muller face went instantly pale when Ethan mentioned the address, Königsallee 37B. "That was the von Edelweiss house, my boy," Herr Muller whispered. "An aristocratic family who vanished during the war." Herr Muller recounted that in 1944, during the Allied bombing of Dusseldorf, the von Edelweiss family, a mother, father, and their little daughter Elsa, disappeared without a trace. The father, Tuan von Edelweiss, was suspected of being a high-rank official who hid a dangerous military secret in a basement bunker. When the Allies approached, they hid, but after the war, their bunker was never found. The terrifying part, anyone who dared live there afterward complained of the same thing, the whisper in the walls. After hearing the tale, Ethan began to pay attention. He realized the whisper weren't whine. They were like gaps of old German words seeping out of the thick stone. One night, Ethan was in the kitchen. The whispering was so loud it sounded like someone were caressing the stone wall behind his refrigerator. He cautiously moved closer. As his ear pressed against the fridge stone, he heard more than whisper. He heard a name. A rough, gasping whisper sound. Elsa, wo bist du, mein Schatz? Or, Elsa, where are you, my darling? It was a man's voice, a father's voice, laced with eternal chilling despair. Ethan knew the entities in this house weren't just ghosts. They were souls trapped in an endless loop of agony. Ethan decided there was only one way to stop the terror. He had to break their agent's rule. He had to find the forbidden cellar. He searched for days. Finally, behind a stack of firewood in the storage shed, he found a small iron door, almost covered in moss. Hanging nearby was an old brass key. It was exactly midnight. With a trembling hand, Ethan unlocked the iron door. The air that rushed out wasn't just cold. It smelled of damp earth, copper, and something sickeningly metallic. The smell of dried blood. The stone step led down steeply. His phone's flashlight could barely penetrate the absolute blackness. At the bottom, the humidity was so thick, it felt like water clinging to his skin. He was in a small, earthen room, empty save for a rotting wooden table and a small log wooden box in the corner. As Ethan moved closer, his light hit the floor. There, in the corner, he saw it. 3 pairs of tiny, moldy children's shoes, perfectly lined up, as if their owners had just stepped out of them. The temperature plumped instantly. Ethan could see his own breath fogging up. In front of him, 3 blurred figures materialized, thin, transparent, formless silhouettes. Yet he could feel their presence. In the center, he saw the faint outline of a little girl in an antique dress, her eyes hollow black holes. It had to be Elsa. He couldn't move. Fear paralyzed him. The tallest silhouette, the father, extended a long, skeletal arm toward the wooden box, not to touch it, but to point. Gathering what little courage he had left, Ethan opened the box. Inside, he found a tattered rag doll and a worn letter journal. Tuan von Edelweiss journal. Under the flickering light of his phone, Ethan read the last entry. Von Edelweiss wrote about the bunker, hiding from the bombs. But the bombs didn't kill them. He wrote that his wife, driven mad by starvation and panic, committed an unthinkable act against little Elsa. When he returned from scavenging, it was too late. To cover the horror, and fearing his own wartime secret would be exposed, he decided no one must ever find this bunker. His last written sentence was, "I've locked myself in here with them. Forever, I will guard this secret from all men, and I will guard them from the darkness I brought upon us." Ethan looked up from the book. The three silhouettes were closer now, and they were no longer pointing at the box. They were pointing at him. At that moment, he heard a different sound, the worst sound yet, a hoarse, deep, cruel voice coming from the absolute darkness above the stairs, just out of his light's reach. "Du bist jetzt hier, du gehörst uns." You are here now. You belong to us. Ethan didn't think. He threw the book, the phone, and the key into the bunker, scrambled up the step, slammed the iron door shut, and locked it. He never went back. He left all his belongings, paid the contract penalty, and immediately moved out of the city. He never told anyone the full story, save for the anonymous account he sent to me. The house at Königsallee 37B, by all accounts, still stands there, empty. And if you ever happen to walk down that luxury street late at night, look closely. You might not see a shadow in the window, but listen. Perhaps you will hear the hollow laughter of a small child upstairs, or maybe you will hear the chilling whispers in the walls asking, "Wo bist du, mein Schatz?"